Hello everybody! Today we are going to talk about mixins that are creating vendor prefixes for us. As you remember, we have already used something like that. We use border radius mixin, we sent it 12 pixels and we generated something like that. As you can see, here are 12 pixels, and we have got here it for Mozilla WebKit and also for all possible browsers who doesn't need vendor prefix, right? So we have already used something like that. And well, on the Compass code reference, when you go to CSS3, you have got all mixins that are used for vendor prefixes here. And you have also on the website like that index/mixins here, all mixins possible. And well, you know, here are lots of the mixins that are named very similar to the names that were used normally. So for example, as you can see, here we go, transition, right? When we go here, then we can find it here, transition. And as you can see, when you go to the bottom, in order to use it, you use transition. Here you can also check how something was created, this mixin, right? So you can change something if you want. So pretty cool, right? And when you use it, you're gonna generate a vendor prefix for a browser that you say exactly here to the one that you want to support, okay? Because you might not want to support every browser. Well, let's think a second if this solution is the best. Right now, you have to what? You have to, well, memorize a bit new syntax. Not totally new syntax, but a bit new, right? So you have to every time check here. And in addition to this, well, you don't have IntelliSense, so you don't have any tips from your IDE. So when I type something like that, transition, I do Ctrl+ space, and I don't have any suggestions here, right? So it's not good. It's not cool, right? And well, it will take time to accommodate to something like that. The best solution for mixins, in my humble opinion, is something what is called auto prefixer that is gonna be run by like something like task manager, which is called Grant, for example. And we'll talk about it in the next course. But well, if you like it, or well, if you gonna read code, because it might happen from other people, you have to know that something like that exists and how to well, operate. So I will show you, for example, transition in this lesson, but you know, every other thing is the same. I will tell you how to operate on this website, okay? Because this is very important. You know one thing and then everything is gonna be easy, okay? So look, here at the beginning we have what? Examples. Cool, examples are really cool. We can just go somewhere, we have a demo, and to the most of these things you have examples. And as you can see, here we have got the output, and here we have got the thing like that. So we have got here a code, and here we have the CSS. We can see how to use the transition here, as you can see. And here we have got the output of CSS. And we can check, hey, this is how this works, this is how this works. So pretty cool, right? And then we can just compare these things. So you can see it on examples. Here it says what we can import. We'll talk about it in the next lesson. And here we have a configurable variables, which means that we can configure a few things that are set by default. As you can see, by default, when you do something, for example, well, let's do something. Here we have a website. And let's change the SCSS. Let's go to anchor, then let's take the hover, and for example we want to change font size to 28 pixels, and we want to change color to, for example, red. And when we type something like, for example, transition 2 seconds, so we are not using the mixins yet, we have got the output, the same output. When we do something like that, it works, right? Everything is okay, but well, we do not generate vendor prefixes. So how to do it? We are doing just include transition, bam, and it also works, but it's a bit faster, right? Because by default you have got settings like that. You can change default settings by just copying something like that, bam, and I want to have it by default 5 seconds. And now when we go here, as you can see, default setting is changed. But you know, these default settings are pretty good. You shouldn't change it for every possible transition on your website because, well, you might want it different way most time, right? And this transition by default 1 second with the default transformation is, I think, the best. So this will work for every possible transition. If you want to a single transition, change something the single transition, you have to use the Mixin, which is called single transition. So we can type something like single transition. By default, you will also use the default options. But well, when we, for example, want to use something different, we can send, hey, I want to change only the font size property, okay? So I will type font size, bam. And then when we go here, as you can see, only font size is gonna translate here. The color is instantly red, right? It is not transforming slowly to the red, it's instantly red when I hand over this mouse on the link. Okay, so you can omit one of these, all these properties are optional, right? So, well, I want to change the duration and then I type 5 seconds, right? And then bam, I have got it now for 5 seconds. When I type here all, of course, then this will work like that. I have to refresh. Okay, everything works cool. And as you can see, you can always check how it's gonna be generated. You can of course use only the transition delay, transition timing function, duration property, but I think that it's cool to just use these guys. If you want by default something, you use the transition because it is the shortest one, and or the single transition if you want to change something. Because you know it's hard to remember all these things, right? And well, we don't have IntelliSense, we don't have any tips from our IDE, so I think it's the best idea to do something like that. So when you go to any other border radius, for example, as you can see, you have got the example how to use it, right? You have all possible usage here. And you can import the browser support, and you can configure something, and you have a Mixins here that you can use, right? And it says how to use it, so it's pretty easy. If you know the CSS3, and well, you should have already known it before taking this course, then this thing will be pretty easy for you. Now you know how to read this documentation, right? But as I said in the beginning of this lesson, I think that the best solution for this is auto-prefixer, because auto-prefixer is gonna do all the work for you. It is gonna at the end, when you use Compass, it is a post-processor. It is gonna process all things here and add vendor prefixes using some kind of rules, and everything will work fine. You do not need to remember the syntax. You don't need to go here, right? So it's pretty cool, and I think it's the best to learn something like Grand and then something like auto-prefixer. The problem is that most people do not know how to set it up, and they have to use things like that. Okay, that's all in that lesson. Thank you very much.